If you're watching this video, you must have seen the video that I already posted on TikTok discussing the matters of this woman who saw Biggie in hell. That man was in a juicer. So this woman here, this is a very interesting conversation that she has with this man. And she's basically discussing the matters of her going to heaven and hell. She has this conversation with Jesus about the end times and about hell and about all these different things. And I want to showcase to you the beginning of this podcast episode because we're just not going to have the time to go through everything in this video. But I want to specifically show you the beginning of this podcast episode. And then I also want to show you the specific part where she was talking about Biggie. Right. So those are just two matters that I'm going to be discussing or going over in this video. If you would like me to do like a reaction to the whole video, let me know in the comments below. And we'll see what we could do with that. But I just want to get to the nitty gritty of these on social media because this has been trending. And a lot of people have been spooked about this conversation. And we're going to just talk about different conceptions around going to hell, going to heaven, having these interactions with Jesus. Jesus is giving out free heaven and hell passes. Like he's giving out free tours. That's unbelievable. But let's get into this topic of discussion. Let's just see what we got cooking.
And as soon as I said Jesus, I was out of my body on the floor. And then God started to speak. He said, "Do you see this darkness?" And as soon as I said Jesus, I was out of my body on the floor. And then God started to speak. He said, "Do you see this darkness?" He said the darkness is alive and it is his own separate evil entity. He said, "Do you see these flames? These flames are 20,000 times hotter than the fire on the earth." He said, "These flames are fed with brimstone night and day. They will never go out." He said, "You serve me with your whole heart because if you don't, I'll use you and others."
That's fucking foul. He'll use you to save other people, but you're still going to go to hell. Because you didn't serve him with your whole heart. You served maybe with 90%, 80%. I'm very startled at the God that y'all worship. Because that's not the one that I've read in the Synoptic Gospels. That's not the one that was helping the adulterer or the woman supposedly caught in the act of adultery to go and sin no more. The woman, the man that he helped, you know, or the man who helped the Samaritan woman at the well and said, you know, "I have living water, everlasting water to give to you." The one who told his disciples to leave a certain man in the city alone because those who are not against us are for us. And nobody has to truly follow me, or I'm not trying to build a posse. I'm not trying to build a gang. I'm not trying to build a religion. That Jesus that I've read in the Bible. So it's very interesting. This concept of serve me or else. You know, this ultimate glazing that's in the church nowadays is at a maximum. And I personally don't go for that. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's get into it.
You cannot be involved in false religions. You cannot be a homosexual or lesbian or transgender. You can't be beating your wife. You can't be preaching and then living in sin. Buddha not gonna get you there. Muhammad not gonna get you there. A Santa real ain't gonna get you there. It's just Jesus. It don't matter if you ask 20,000 times a day. Keep asking until that seed of bitterness is removed from your heart and you were able to talk to them again as if they never did it. That's how you know you forgave them.
Oh my gosh.
With no vision, I was physically out of my body in hell, standing beside Jesus Christ himself. It was pitch black. And these demons had to be 13, 14, 50 feet tall. And they were standing in front of a jail cell in hell. And Biggie was holding the bars, but he was on fire from the inside. He said, "This man," he didn't even call him his name. He said, "This man told me he didn't need me." This man went to a fetish priest and got charms he carried around in his pocket to become famous.
Wait, what did you say?
And when they put him back in his cell and closed the door, he exploded on fire.
Exploded on fire. Very interesting. Okay. I find it interesting with Christians. There's no real respect for people who have other perspectives and ideas of life in itself. I was just in a live stream last night on my live stream on TikTok. And if y'all don't have me on TikTok, I highly suggest that y'all add me on TikTok. But I was having this wonderful conversation with a couple of Christians, and as the conversation started to develop and go further, you start to really see behind the curtains of their agenda. There's an agenda that's being had on social media, and there's an agenda that's had with a lot of Christians on the basis of their faith, because they cannot fathom somebody of a different faith having a connection with the universe, having a connection with the divine. Their agenda, their literal mission is to make you believe that the only way to God is through their Jesus Christ, is through their Bible. And that's so far from the truth. You came into this world with a divine birthright to the divine. By divine birthright, by your divine birthright, you already have a connection with the Most High. And if you don't believe that, I can't help you try and understand that. It's either you know or you don't know. I refuse to go back and forth with somebody who is always making a way to misunderstand me. So you just got to do your own homework on that one. But in this video here, we have Miss Ma'am, who is talking about her testimony of seeing Biggie in hell. I kind of cut this up a little bit just so that we could save some time, but hopefully you'll get something out of this. I will be breaking this down bit by bit so that we can come to our own personal assessments. And y'all let me know in the comments below after the video how y'all personally feel about these testimonies that be coming out about going to heaven and hell. Well, let's get into it.
I saw Biggie in hell. Yeah, I used to love Biggie Smalls. With no dream, for some of y'all saying I'm having dreams. With no vision, I was physically out of my body in hell, standing beside Jesus Christ himself. There's this cave-like area, and it was pitch black. And there was these two, the demons was almost as, the demons was darker than the darkness. You didn't even know it was demons there until you saw the whites of their eyes. And they were standing in front of a jail cell in hell. Room, just carved out area, and Biggie was holding the bars, but he was on fire. So Jesus, why is this man here? And these are the words Jesus said verbatim, is written on record in heaven. This is what he told me. He said, this man, he ain't even call him his name. He said, this man told me he didn't need me. This man went to a fetish priest and got charms he carried around in his pocket to become famous. That's what they had, these staffs.
Okay. So Biggie is suffering in hell because he somehow professed that he didn't need Jesus. That's toxic as fuck. That's toxic. It's toxic for a deity or an entity to punish you because they are living their own life without you in it. Mind you, Jesus has only been existing for merely 2,000 years, not even a full 2,000 years. This conception of Christianity, this conception of salvation has not even been going for 2,000 years. It's only been estimated to about 2,000 years. And it wasn't even widespread until colonialism was involved. When colonialists and conquistadors and the Dutch and the Brits and the Germans and the French, they would go around the world literally wreaking havoc, taking away the culture, the civilizations of people, taking away their names and their identity, and giving them a Bible, giving them Jesus Christ. There's a concept in, when talking about colonialism in Africa, is that when the Europeans came to the lands, we had the land and they had the Bible. And when they taught us how to pray, and when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible and they had the land. And they told us that our heaven, our paradise is up in the sky, while they made their paradise and their heaven on our lands. I cannot sit here and have this. I can't just dismiss the things that have happened to my ancestors. I just can't do that. Our ancestors were well off in spirituality. They knew about this divine connection with the divine creator or the divine supreme consciousness before there was even a name Jesus, before there was even an entity named Jesus. And you're telling me Biggie is suffering because he didn't glaze Jesus enough or at all. And so my ancestors, what about my ancestors? What about my ancestors who had their own personal spiritual systems, who had their own spiritual connections with God before they were even introduced to a Bible? Did they go to hell too? And what about the Christianity that my ancestors were indoctrinated with? People love to say that the slave masters and the people that indoctrinated, my ancestors with this type of Christianity weren't true Christians and they are going to go to hell. Well, are the people who were indoctrinated with these ideologies, did they go to hell along with them? These are questions that you have to ask. You cannot just give the benefit of a doubt to the slaves and to the overseers and to the people who are just ignorant. In your right mind, right? Because you are genuine, because you are somebody who is merciful. You would never punish somebody because they didn't know. But your God will definitely do that. Your God has own record for unaliving men, women, and children of different civilizations of people who weren't even merely involved in these different interactions with the Israelites. And they would take the little girls for being wives. There are laws in the Bible teaching you word for word, part for part, step by step on what to do if you have eyes for a woman, for a little girl even, to be your wife. That's in the Bible. I think a lot of Christians need to understand what exactly you truly worship. I had somebody in my TikTok live stream the other night tell me that, yeah, you might want to start off with the New Testament first, because if you start with the Old Testament, it's going to scare the hell out of you. Gee, I wonder why. And I actually appreciate that this Christian was honest enough to understand the terror in the God that he worships. Because a lot of Christians cannot understand that. A lot of people cannot really conceive that, or they don't want to accept it. And mostly you just get excuses like, well, that's God for you. God can do whatever he wants because he's God, and he's God. He can do whatever he wants, and he can do whatever he wants because he's God. Yeah, that don't ride with me. That's an excuse. You can't pull that okie doke on me. I'm sorry.
And he was holding the staff with his right hand. He pointed. He said he was telling the other demon to get him out of that cell, and they're gonna take him for more torment. So when they came out of the cell, fake king's robe appeared on him, fake crown, and they took him and put him in a juicer. Now, in the spirit realm, you have a permanent spirit body. In hell, you still feel like you have bones. You still feel like you have blood vessels. You still feel like you have the same organs you had here. But you don't, but you do, you feel it. And he felt the pain of breaking bone, muscles and ligaments and tendons, his skull being cracked and smashed. He felt that. And then it was all on the floor in a big mush pile.
So that's basically the end of that. She basically goes further on talking about how they took him back to his cell, and they had sprung up some fire, and he was burning from inside the cell all over again. There's another part in that where she's talking about how in Africa, a lot of African witch doctors have this connection with the devil and doing charms and spells and incantations and divinations. It's disgusting to hear those type of things from your own people, where they are demonizing their own spiritual practices and cultures, things that your ancestors were practicing before, long before they were introduced to Christianity. And it's also interesting that she didn't see anybody else other than Biggie. Why specifically Biggie? Now, mind you, in the beginning, she talks about how she used to love Biggie. She used to love herself some Biggie. So it's just also interesting that she has this interaction with Jesus. She has this dream, and that's the first person that she sees when she goes to hell, is that she sees Biggie. And I find it interesting when you hear these different ideologies or these concepts of going to heaven and hell, these so-called experiences, they always see black people. I don't know what it is. Why is it that when our people talk about going to heaven and hell, specifically when they go to hell, they always see our own people there? Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, Tupac, Biggie. Why is that? Where's Jeffrey Dahmer? Where's J. Edgar Hoover? Where's Leopold of Belgium? Where's Adolf? I need to know. Where are the people that we need to see down there? I've never heard not one time somebody going to hell and they saw Adolf Hitler. They saw Leopold of Belgium. Not one time. I've never heard one person talk about how specifically there's a place where they have tortured the people who colonized our ancestors, who manipulated, misused us, and all these different things. Not one time. It's always a celebrity. It's always somebody that was a big inspiration to who we are in this society. Nobody has seen any Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great by chance. Judas, because I know Judas ain't in the pearly gates, right? Judas made it in? Is that what you're telling me? The one who betrayed Jesus? I don't understand what we're doing here. Did anybody see King Saul by chance? I know he didn't make it. So it's really amazing to me how we are so willing to listen to other people's so-called stories and experiences over our own critical thinking, over our own intelligence. I'm not going to sit here and try and dismiss her intelligence or to dismiss her experience or who she is as an individual. But that don't mean I have to take it. That don't mean that I have to take her experience or her opinion. Well, it's better safe than sorry, Tyrone. But if she says she been there, a lot of people say they've been there. A lot of people say a lot of things. Broski, sir, ma'am, it. A lot of people say a lot of things. What about the people who say that they have had these outside experiences and they've went to different worlds and dimensions? What about the people who say that they have had these near-death experiences and they have seen different creatures and different people in different time zones, different time frames, different planets? There are people out there who have these different experiences and these testimonies, but it doesn't fit your narrative. And if you do encounter these type of people, you'll say it's the devil. It's the devil that deceived you. It was the devil. It was some type of evil spirit that made you see those type of things, because that ain't my experience. It's unbelievable that we are in 2025. We are in the 21st century, and we still have to have these conversations on whether or not Jesus is coming back. And you're going to be having the same conversation in 2030, in 2050, in 2080, 2100. You're going to be having the same conversation because this man is not coming back. This man is not real, not on a physical spectrum, at least. If you want to deal with Jesus being an egregore, if you want to deal with the mystical, the spiritual realm, and the many different Jesuses that have been created, because there's more than one Jesus. Again, that's a very highly advanced topic, and we have to savor that for another day. But how do you personally feel about this conversation? How do you personally feel about what was said concerning what she had to say and concerning what we had to say? Yeah, I really want to know what y'all think about this. Why is hell segregated? If there are so many niggas down in hell, what does heaven look like? What does Jesus look like? I don't know. If y'all want to know a little bit more, because I do have another video where I was talking about hell, because I do have this video here too. All right. So don't fret. I got this video here. You're going to like this one. All right. I'll see you in the next one. We out.
Fucking is that damn down bad. They're lucky enough to have that one dimension of thought in life that they can work with and function with, and that's just their purpose. And some people I kind of, in that case, view as either the lost or the closest to robotic, because you're stuck in a loop where that's where it kind of kept you. Like, I don't know, shit get real. But
I'm just trying to understand, like, when you look at people like that and you listen to their story, and then you also realize, like, they're not really too sane in their head. Like, how, from the Christian perspective, like, how am I supposed to take that seriously as a non-believer? Like, I mean, if you look at it from psychology and from neuroscience, and you look at like the life that she's lived, and I'm pretty sure she'll talk about that in the podcast, but she'll talk about the life that she's lived and how many times that she had to suffer and all these things that she's went through. And it's a continuous pattern for Christians to be at the literal bottom of life itself, for them to be like, but Jesus turned my life around. Thank you, honey. Lord have mercy, Jesus. He made me white as snow. He made my black ass white as snow. Yeah, I'm just saying. It's beyond me.
Yeah, I'm just not. I don't know.
Hold on.